Hi, I'm Janine Marilyn, the owner and founder of Granny's Conversations LLC. I am pleased to announce a new series of cards dealing with the 6 stages of grief. This is just something that is so needed in the world today. Lately, we have had devastating tragedies, things unimaginable, on top of just daily griefs of people getting shot, being sick, cancer's going around like the common cold. Times are rough. And when you lose someone in death, it's something that no matter how many people you've lost, you never fully understand it. You can never fully accept it, and it will never feel natural. Even if they were sick, it still does not feel okay for them to no longer be here. One of my motivations for writing this series is the loss of my brother, Antonio Brown, finally known as Tony, who was killed on June 12th of 2016 in the Orlando Pulse Massacre. When he died and when I received a phone call, it was like a nightmare. Like, I've seen tragedy and, we watch it all day long and our hearts go out to that family. But I've never been on the receiving end of that type of tragedy or massacre. That was the bloodiest um, terrorist massacre that the United States have ever seen.
The guilt of feeling lucky to be alive is heavy. It's like the weight of the ocean's walls crushing uncontrolled by levees. It's like being dragged through the grass with a shattered leg and thrown on the back of a Chevy. It's like being rushed to the hospital and told you're going to make it when you laid beside individuals whose lives were brutally taken. The guilt of being alive is heavy.
Like, the whole time we were going through the funeral and just supporting each other and trying to get through this, every time we turn on the TV, we would have to relive how he died for months. And it was just like you couldn't heal, you couldn't get over it. And then, like, I would have nightmares because I couldn't get the visuals of what I imagined him experiencing. Um, you know, it was rough. And because of that, like, I've lost a lot of people over my life. Over, I lost my grandmother when I was 11, and she was a very big part of my life. And so that was my first real death, and it just, like, it was devastating. So I was exposed to just so many deaths, growing up. It was just like, okay, so and so died. It was just like, it didn't, you just keep it moving. It didn't impact me. My dad died in 2008, and, his death was really hard because we had a toxic relationship, and it was just so many emotions. I didn't know how to feel, and it was a lot. It was heavy, but still, like, I just kept it moving, you know. Um, my best friend died not too long after that, and she was in a she had a heart attack on the interstate, and, like, whoa, and that just, like, devastated me, but I kept it moving. But when Tony died, I don't know, it was the first time a death just brought all the other deaths that I experienced to the forefront, that I had never dealt with, to the forefront. And I experienced so much guilt. Like, I love Tony. He was my little brother. I've been knowing him since he was like 2. And, growing up, he was always getting on my nerves, but, it was silly and, just whatever. And then, um, as we got older, he was just so hilarious and it was just, but like, as we do when we're grown, I didn't keep in touch, Um, I didn't I didn't feel like I had been a good big sister to him. I feel like I had missed out on so much in my life. And I felt so bad. I felt so guilty. Oh my God. For weeks and months, I just cried myself to sleep, just reliving my life and guilty and what I should have done and especially because of the way he died. It was like he didn't deserve that. And so I had to go through grief counseling for the first time in my life. Um, my church was amazing and they actually covered it for me and encouraged me to do it. And the grief counselor, she was just a godsend. And so not only did she help me deal with Tony's death and come to peace with that, um, I remember one day she had me on the day that on his birthday, she had me pretend that I was spending the day with Tony and to tell like feel that all through the day, you know, go through what we would do and what he would say and how he would be dressed and what we'd be laughing about and just to make the day easier to cope with. And when I came back and she asked me, how was it? Then she had me like write him a letter. And, it was just a lot that she had me do that really helped me get over the grief. She also went over the 6 stages of grief. And, I've heard about the stages of grief my whole life, but, nobody ever actually like thinks, oh, what are they? um, So this was the first time that I was educated on what the 6 stages of grief are. Shock is one of the first stages of grief, and this was recently added to the stages because this is one that people usually don't think about. But when you first find out someone is deceased, you're in shock before you go through any other stage. So this first card, it's shock, the first stage before healing from grief. And the recipe for the day is 1 cup of eyes that can't find moisture, 1 teaspoon of screams void of sound, half a cup of feet that forgot how to move, directions slowly stir together until the painful shock subsides. Speak, child. Your mouth is silent, yet your heart is screaming 911. A body filled with so much sorrow, it feels as though it weighs a ton. Your eyes won't drop no water, and you can barely breathe. No matter how hard you try, you can't understand it, so your heart can grieve. I can't quite imagine what you're thinking, or can't feel no more. But let me just hold you till you feel the emergency knocking at your heart's door. Shock. The 6 stages of grief. These card series you can give to someone throughout the year. Usually, when all the family and friends leave, the repast is over, the funeral arrangements are over, and everyone has gone on with their lives. You go back to work, and so the phone calls stop. You're alone. That's usually the time when you need encouragement the most. And those are the times that people forget that you're going through a loss. Now, grief is something that you can go through for years. You're not going to just get over it because the services are over. So these cards you can actually give to someone throughout the year or over the course of years. Maybe you give them the shock one initially, and then later on, you give them the next stage, which is denial, and then so forth. And that way, your friend knows that you're always thinking about them. That's the grief series. It is officially available now worldwide. Visit www.granniesconversations.com for the online store, the visuals of all the cards, more descriptions of how you can give these cards. They are $4.99 each, but we have discounts available. Um, and they are life-saving messages. They are keepsakes for you to just post on your mirror, read over and over again, collect all of them. Our goal is to save lives through the written word. I hope you enjoy.
You're broken down and tired of living life on the merry-go-round, and you can't find a fighter, but I see it in you, so we gon' walk it out. Move mountains, we gon' walk it out and move mountains.